I'd like to quickly demonstrate how I can create a rolling bouncing ball. So what I'm going to do is create a sphere, just a primitive sphere in the viewport. I'm going to give the sphere a radius value of 20 and I'm just going to position that 20 units up on the z-axis just so it's sat on the ground plane. And the idea is I want to have this animated so it's rolling from left to right. Rather than animate the object rolling and the object squashing, instead I'm going to use some X-form modifiers. So I'm going to apply two X-form modifiers to the stack. The first X-form modifier, I'm just going to rename that and I'm going to call it X-form roll. And the second X-form modifier, I'm going to rename that as well and call that X-form scale. So the next thing to do is to select the X-form scale modifier, go into the sub-object, go to the center of that sub-object and change the center to the base of the sphere. So the center of the X-form scale modifier is now at the bottom of the sphere where the ground plane is. So I'm just going to exit sub-object now, and the next thing we're going to do is actually set up the roll for this. So I'm just going to right click on the object. I'm going to go to wire parameters. I'm going to select transform position, Y position. I'm going to say the Y position then controls the X-form roll, gizmo, rotation, X rotation. So Y position controls X rotation, so left to right and connect. I'm then going to put an expression of divided by 20 in there, and I'm also going to put a minus in there as well, so minus Y underscore position divided by 20 and then hit update. So when I move the sphere now left to right, the roll is automated for me. It's all done automatically. So once I've done that, I can close that down and I can just go into auto key and just animate this. So I'll start here on frame 0, move to frame 100 and roll the sphere across. So play the animation back and we've got a rolling ball. The next thing to do is to add some squash and stretch. Before I do that, what I'm also going to do is just keyframe a little jump in this animation. So around about frame 30, I'm going to set a keyframe, and I'm going to set another keyframe on frame 50. And on frame 40, I'm just going to jump this sphere up a bit. I'm then going to go into my curves, and I'm just going to change the tangents for the Z curve so that that's going to look a bit better. And I'm just going to play this back now. Just show that in edge spaces. There we go, so we've got the sphere rolling along, it does a little jump and then lands again and carries on rolling. So the next thing to do is add some squash and stretch. So you'll notice that there's an orange box surrounding the sphere. This is basically the second X-form modifier, the X-form scale modifier. And this is staying aligned to the world, even though the first X-form modifier, the roll modifier, is rotating. Which is great because I can now go into my scale tool. If I click and hold on the scale tool, I can select my volume scale tool. And if I then go into the gizmo sub-object of the X-form scale modifier, I can now scale the sphere using that X-form modifier. So what I'm going to do is just roll along to frame 30 and just set a keyframe on frame 30 for the scale. Just tweak that a tiny bit. On frame 40, actually on frame 50, I'll just tweak it a bit to set a keyframe there. On frame 40, I'm just going to stretch the ball out, and I might add some anticipation. So maybe on frame 20, just set a keyframe. Let's say 27, squash it down a tiny bit. And what I'll also do on frame, 53, squash it down a bit, and on frame 60, bring it back up again. So what I've done here is just animate some squash and stretch into the ball as it rolls. And just to finish this off, I'm just going to go into the modified object in the curve editor, go into the X-form scale and select the scale curves. And I'm just going to copy these over, so Control, Shift and drag. So I'm just copying the values on 0 across to 20, and I'll just do that over to 60 as well. So just making sure that we're getting the sphere shape back at that point. Another thing I'm going to do is just take out some of the acceleration, deacceleration here, which should help a bit with the motion. So close this down, play the animation back, and we've now got a rolling ball that also has squash and stretch applied.